Ever wondered what HTTP codes mean in software testing? Well, let's dive into the fascinating world of these three-digit numbers. HTTP, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol, is the system used to send and receive information on the web. And those codes? They're the server's way of letting us know how that process went. HTTP codes are classified into 5 categories, each beginning with a different number from 1 to 5. Each class represents a different type of response that the server could give when it tries to fulfill a request. From informational responses to successful operations, redirection notices, client errors, and server errors, each code tells its own story. These codes aren't just numbers, they're an integral part of software testing, providing us with insights into the status and performance of our software on the web. Understanding these codes can help us make sense of how our software communicates over the internet. First up, we have the 1XX or informational response codes. Now, what are these exactly? Well, they're temporary responses that indicate that the server has received the request, but it hasn't finished processing it yet. Think of them as a polite way of saying, "Hold on, I'm still working on it." You can imagine how useful this can be in software testing when you're dealing with large or complex requests that take time to process. For example, let's look at code 100, which is continue. This tells the client that the initial part of the request has been received and it should continue to send the rest. Or code 101, switching protocols, which the server sends when it's changing the protocol as per the client's request. And here's a fun fact. 1XX codes are the only class of HTTP status codes that are not cacheable. These codes are all about providing information, not about the success or failure of a request. Moving on, we come to the 2XX or success codes. These codes are a joy to behold for any software tester. They signify that your request was successful and that everything worked as it should. The 2XX success codes are a group of HTTP status codes used to indicate that the client's request was received, understood, and accepted. They're like a warm pat on the back from your server, assuring you that all is well. For instance, the most commonly seen 2XX code is 200 OK, which means the request has been successfully processed. In software testing, these codes play a crucial role. They help testers verify if a software application is functioning as expected. For example, when testing an API, if a GET request returns a 200 OK code, it indicates that the data was successfully retrieved. But there's more to 2XX codes than just the 200 OK. We also have 201 created, 202 accepted, 204 no content, and others. Each of these codes has a specific meaning that can provide valuable insight during testing. When you see these codes, you know your request was successful. Next up, we have the 3XX or redirection codes. Picture a busy traffic cop directing cars to take a detour because the usual route is closed. That's essentially what the 3XX family of HTTP status codes does. They're all about redirection. They inform the client that the resource they're looking for is not available at the requested location, but it can be found elsewhere. For instance, there's the 301 code indicating that the requested resource has been permanently moved to a new location, or the 304 code, which tells the client that the requested resource hasn't been modified since the last request, so there's no need to download it again. These redirection codes are particularly useful in software testing. They help ensure that applications handle redirections correctly, maintain the integrity of old URLs, and efficiently manage resources. These codes tell us that we need to look somewhere else for what we're seeking. Now let's delve into the 4XX or client error codes. These are HTTP status codes that tell us there's something amiss with the client's request. In other words, the problem lies not with the server, but squarely on the client side. The client in this context could be a web browser, a mobile app, or even an API testing tool. So let's explore some of the most common 4XX status codes. We'll start with 400, or bad request. This is the server saying, "Hey, I didn't understand your request. Could you please check and send it again?" Next is 401, or unauthorized. This means the request lacks valid authentication credentials. It's the server's way of saying, "I can't let you in without proper identification." Then we have 403 or forbidden. Even with valid credentials, the client may not have the necessary permissions to access the requested resource. It's like being a guest in a house, but not being allowed to enter certain rooms. Next up is 404 or not found. This is one you might have encountered while surfing the web. It's the server's way of saying, the resource you're looking for, I can't find it, maybe it never existed or has been moved. The 405 status code or method not allowed is used when the request method is known by the server but is not supported by the target resource. It's like trying to use a screwdriver to hammer a nail. Wrong tool for the job. Last but not least, we have 409 or conflict. This indicates that the request could not be completed due to a conflict with the current state of the resource. This might occur when trying to delete a resource that has dependencies. In the world of software testing, these 4XX status codes provide invaluable clues. They help us diagnose and troubleshoot issues and ensure that our software is robust and user-friendly. These codes indicate that there was a problem with the request made by the client. Finally, we arrive at the 5XX or server error codes. Now imagine this. You're a diligent worker, striving to deliver your best. You've done everything right, followed all the rules, but the system you're relying on lets you down. Sounds frustrating, doesn't it? Well, in the realm of HTTP, this is exactly what 5XX server error codes represent. They are the digital embodiment of a system letting you down when you've done everything right. These codes are a key part of the HTTP response status codes that indicate the server failed to fulfill a valid request. They signify that the problem lies with the server and not the client. In other words, the blame is on the house, not the guest. For instance, let's consider the 500 error code, the most generic one in this category. It's like a shrug from the server, saying, I don't know what happened, but something definitely went wrong. However, as we move along, we encounter more specific codes like 501, which tells us that the server does not support the functionality required to fulfill the request. It's like a librarian telling you they simply don't have the book you're looking for. Then we have 503, the server's way of saying, I'm not available right now, please try again later. It's the equivalent of a closed sign hanging on a shop door. These are just a few examples. There are many more 5XX error codes, each with its unique message about the server's inability to process a request. As software testers, understanding these codes is vital. They're like a secret language, helping us decipher what's happening behind the scenes when things go wrong and guiding us towards solutions. Remember, in this digital dance between client and server, the 5XX codes are the server's confessions of failure. They're not about finger-pointing, but about understanding and rectifying issues. These codes tell us that the server failed to fulfill a valid request. So, we've journeyed through the world of HTTP status codes. Let's take a moment to recap the key takeaways from our exploration. Beginning with the 100 series or the 1XX, we learned about informational responses. These codes indicate that the request was received and understood, and the process is continuing. They're not typically seen in day-to-day browsing, but they play a crucial role behind the scenes. Moving forward, we delved into the 200 series, or the 2XX. These are the success codes. When you see these, you know that your request was successfully received, understood, and accepted. It's always a good day when your codes are in the 200s. Next, we navigated through the 300 series, or the 3XX. These are the redirection codes. They tell you that the requested resource isn't available at the expected location, but there's another place you can go to find it. It's like a friendly signpost on the internet highway. Then we ventured into the 400 series or the 4XX. These are the client error codes. They're a bit like a slap on the wrist for the client, indicating that there was an error in the request that needs to be corrected. They're not the most pleasant to encounter, but they're incredibly useful for identifying and fixing errors. Finally, we explored the 500 series or the 5XX. These are the server error codes. These indicate that the server failed to complete an apparently valid request. It's like the server saying, it's not you, it's me. In the realm of software testing, understanding these HTTP codes is like having a translator for a foreign language. They help you understand what's going on beneath the surface of your applications, reveal potential issues, and guide you towards solutions. So, keep these codes in your toolkit. Refer back to them as you navigate through your testing journey. They're your roadmap, your guide, and your troubleshooting friend all in one. Remember, understanding HTTP codes is crucial in software testing to diagnose and resolve issues effectively. Before we wrap up, we have a small request. If you found this deep dive into HTTP status codes helpful, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us create more informative and engaging content like this. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified about our latest videos as soon as they're released. Thank you for your support. Happy testing!